Hey guys, it's Ren. I'm back again. I want to show you how I marked out my quilt. I know a few people had asked me online in one of my Facebook groups that I'm in, and I thought, oh, well, what better way to have a next video and just show you guys how I did it. So here's Flying High. I put her back on the frame so I can kind of explain a few things, but I'll show you really quick. This is the sketch, not the sketch, but the paper that Pat Smith sent me. She created Flying High in EQ7, and she sent me a screenshot basically, of what it looked like, where the triangles were and whatnot. And I took and I sketched my design that I thought I wanted on it. So at least I had an idea of what I was going to quilt when I started quilting. So what I did is I laid Flying High on the floor. You could use the table also, but the floor just kind of works for me. I can get up and down pretty easily. And I found the center. I folded Flying High in half, found my center, made, a few marks across so I knew exactly where the center was in it. And on the edge I had a mark right here on my quilt, and I measured out, I can't remember right now exactly how many inches, but I measured out, let's say 8 inches, and I put a mark here, and then I went back to the center and measured out 8 inches here and put a mark. And then I tried to figure out what I wanted my triangles to look like. I could have made the point here way up high and it would have been more of a skinnier triangle, but I wanted more of a fat triangle to kind of match these. And really, I just eyeballed it. There's no rhyme or reason, I just eyeballed it. So that's why I had the center marked across, so I kind of made sure all my points, were centered when I started marking my quilt. But anyway, I measured out however many inches I wanted it here, and I put a mark there. And then literally, I just took my ruler and, dot to dot, and drew a line. Same from here down to that dot. And then in between each design, it's hard to tell on the paper because it's just a sketching, but in between each design I did end up doing like a 1/2 inch row, I guess, whatever you want to call it, in between each to kind of divide the designs up a little bit. So I did not stay true to my sketch, but it was just a sketch, so I knew what it would look like when I did start quilting it out. So anyway, once I did that first, dot to dot, then I used this or any other ruler I had. I had another bigger one since I was on the floor. Let's see how much bigger that is. But anyway, I used a ruler, and let's say this was my line. I lined up my half mark, and then I just drew. There was no more points and dots, and I just lined my ruler up on that previous line that I drew and drew another line beside of it, and then I had 2 lines drawn. And that's why I used the really long ruler or my yardsticks to make sure those lines stayed nice and straight as I went through basically the other triangles. Or I made sure I lined it up like this. I draw my line and stop, or you could draw right through the triangle. I didn't stitch on my triangles, so that's why it's no big deal. But anyway, and that's where this thing came in handy, because this thing is 6.5 inches if you count this little edge right here. So like on, let's see, this meander, I wanted it to be 4 inches wide. So just like before on my 1/4 inch mark, I just lined this up with my 4 inch line, and then I drew a line. And then of course when I was done there, I drew my small line. And every line I just kind of guessed how big I wanted it to be. This one was 4, and I thought, well, since that's 4, let's just make this 2. So, and I went through the whole thing. And what's kind of nice is you can draw your original line up and over, and then when you work your way back, do that little 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch mark. And then when you're down here, then you start your next big row that you're going to quilt in, go all the way around. And then when you work your way back, do your 1/2 inch, that really skinny one. So you'll always remember to do that. You don't want to forget. So, okay. So that's how I marked my quilt. And then I want to show you how I laid out, let me move this down here. I'll show you how I laid out my quilt so I wouldn't mess up and not quilt it correctly. On here, you can see that I have a design in the center. That's great. The next one is lines. It goes all the way around. And then triangles. I see that you can see the pattern. Okay, and then up here we have feathers that go off, and then they come back on. Same with this, the grid that goes off the quilt, and then up here, so it's the same all the way, as if it just kept going. Now on my quilt, as you can tell, when it's on the frame, you can only see so much of it. You can't see the whole entire quilt. Sorry about the moving of my camera. But yeah, so when I quilted up here, you know, I went all the way across the top, of course. Let's go down here. In my corner, there's lines. Now, as I roll the quilt up and I get to the bottom, what if I don't remember what I quilted in that corner? I'm gonna have to either unroll the whole entire quilt, or I can number it like I did here. So what I did is in that small section, I didn't use number 1. I just, I'll show you when I get there, but I numbered them all. So that way each strip had its own number. And when I started in the center, I numbered them before I even put them on my long arm, and I left the numbers on them. But this one was number 1. Next one was number 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't number those small ones, just the strips. So that's how the one all the way up there in the corner is 19. I had 19 different strips all together. So as you can see, when I rolled it up and got ready to quilt, these are where my numbers are. And what I did is I took the number off when I quilted, because I had them pinned on and I didn't want to, you know, sew over top the pin. So I took the number when I quilted, I took it off, I quilted what I wanted to quilt. After I was done that section, I put the number back on because I did not want to forget what number that was. And I quilted my whole row. And then when I advanced it, I did the same thing, the same numbers, you know, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then when I got to the center, I started going, you know, the opposite way from 1 back up to 19. You know, right here was 1, so then it was 2, 3, 4, you know. And when I got down here, this part was hidden and rolled up on my frame, so that's where the numbers came in handy, because this one was numbered 19, because I started up here, the same I did here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 19. So that's how I kept my designs the same throughout my whole entire quilt, was by numbers. That's what made it easy for me. Maybe someone else can think of a different way to do it, but that was the easiest way I could find to do it, and it worked really easily. And yes, I had to get down and number them all, but you know what? It was worth it, because Flying High turned out great in the end, and I couldn't have asked for a better quilt. And I have to thank Pat Smith for all of her hard work creating this awesome design. She did really good. She definitely deserves recognition there. And yeah, I hope my video wasn't too boring. I hope I tried to explain it well enough, and if I did leave anything out, please feel free to bother me and let me know, and I will do my best to make it better. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Oh, and one more thing, guys. After I finished one row, I always took a picture of my quilting with my number on top of it. So when I did roll the quilt up, that was the whole purpose of the numbers. I would have a picture of what I quilted underneath that number, so I would remember as I advanced my quilt what to quilt next. So yeah, once again, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.